You loved. You gave. You protected. You believed. And yet, it wasn't enough. Have you asked yourself at least once, what does a woman really want today? Not in theory, not in books, not in videos full of cliches, but in concrete reality. The kind that leaves you awake at night wondering where you went wrong. Because today, it's not enough to be good. It's not enough to be present. It's not even enough to be the right man. Modern women no longer live by the old codes of the past. They're not just looking for stability. They're not just looking for affection. They're not just looking for a name next to theirs. They want to feel alive. And most men don't understand what that really means. You convinced yourself it was love, but often it was just emotional validation. You told yourself she was independent, but often she was just tired of depending on someone who didn't understand her. You thought she wanted security, but the truth is, she wanted intensity. And so you found yourself in a paradox. The more security you gave her, the less passion she felt. The more presence you gave her, the more distance she sought. The more you tried to understand her, the more she seemed to distance herself. It's not madness. It's modern female psychology, a conflict between two opposing forces. On one side, the ancient desire to feel protected. On the other, the new voice of the ego, telling her she doesn't need anyone. We live in an age where women are pushed to be everything. Strong yet sweet, independent yet romantic, free yet faithful, emotional yet lucid. An impossible mission, and in the tension between these poles, confusion arises. Not just for her, for you too. The modern man no longer understands where he fits in. If he leads, he's toxic. If he withdraws, he's weak. If he speaks, he's arrogant. If he stays silent, he's distant. Every move seems wrong. But it's not a game to be won. It's a code to be understood. To understand what a woman really wants today, you have to look beyond her words. Because a modern woman will never tell you directly what she wants. She will test it. She will put you to the test. Not with malice, but with instinct. She wants to know if you're still a man in the deepest sense of the word. Not in body, but in presence. A woman may desire success, beauty, freedom, but what truly moves her is the feeling of being contained. Not controlled, contained. Reassured by a stable, calm, imperturbable presence. A man who doesn't try to convince her, but simply exists with his own strength. Today, women are tired of men who speak like gurus, who promise authentic connection, but can't maintain silence. They are attracted to those who know how to remain still. Because in the chaos of hyperconnection, the man who knows how to remain still, not out of indifference but out of mastery, becomes instantly magnetic. The modern woman is emotional by nature, but she has grown up in a world that rewards her only when she represses her emotions. And this divides her. She wants to feel free, but doesn't want to be alone. She wants to be chosen, but fears dependence. She wants to be understood, but runs away when someone actually succeeds. It's not inconsistency, it's disorientation. And you, if you want to truly understand modern female psychology, you must not judge her. You must observe her. Because today's woman no longer seeks a man who tells her what to do. She seeks a man who knows what he's doing. She wants to look at you and feel that you can navigate her chaos without losing yourself. She wants to provoke you to see if your calm is real or just a facade. She wants to see you vulnerable, but never a victim. She wants to feel free beside you, but also guided by your direction. And in this fragile balance between freedom and containment, intensity and calm, the deepest attraction is born. Because the truth is, a woman never falls in love with the perfect man. She falls in love with the man whose energy doesn't change even when her mood changes. She falls in love with the man who doesn't try to fix her, but looks at her and says, "You can be anything you want. I'm still the same." The masculine frame, in its purest form, is what the female mind desires, even if she will never admit it. Not control, not domination, but direction. In a world where everything is fluid, changeable, uncertain, a woman wants to feel that there's a man beside her who knows where she's going, who doesn't get lost in her trials, her silences, her emotions, who knows how to stand in the fire without getting burned. Modern female psychology is a labyrinth, but its core hasn't changed over the centuries. Inside, much deeper than what she shows, every woman still desires the same: a man who sees her but isn't destroyed by her. And this kind of man isn't born by chance. He's born from a fall, from disappointments, from the silence after storms, from the choice to rebuild himself, not to conquer her, but to not depend on her. Because only the man who doesn't need a woman is able to make her feel truly safe by his side. Modern women often talk about freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to love whoever she wants, freedom to depend on no one. But freedom today has become a concept that hides a paradox. The more we talk about it, the less we experience it. Many women feel free, but inside they are imprisoned by another kind of chain: the constant need to feel sufficient. Sufficient for the world, for work, for their image, for social media, for men, for themselves. A constant struggle between what they really want and what they think they should want. Society told her, you can be everything, but it never taught her that being everything comes at a price, and that price is inner peace. The modern woman has learned to be strong, but in the process, she has forgotten how to be calm. She has learned to defend herself, but has stopped letting go. She has learned to move decisively, but she no longer knows how to stop. And in this race toward independence, she has distanced herself from the oldest and truest part of herself, the part that longs to feel, not just do. This is not a judgment, it's an observation, because the modern world offers her no alternatives. It tells her that sweetness is weakness, that dependence is dangerous, that trust is naive. So she builds walls, dresses herself with courage, appears determined. But inside, in the silence of the evening, there's a weariness she can't tell anyone. It's the weariness of someone who always has to prove herself, of someone who must be emotionally independent even when she just wants to lean on someone, of someone who must appear in control even when she just wants to feel contained. And you, man, often look at all this without understanding it. You think she doesn't need anything, that she doesn't want anyone, that she doesn't need you. But you're wrong, because behind the apparent independence there's still the same thirst for deep connection. Only today that thirst is covered by pride. The modern woman wants a man, but she doesn't want to feel like she needs one. She wants to feel desired, but she's afraid of appearing weak. She wants to be loved, but she also wants to be free. And this internal tension wears her down more than she admits. So, when she meets a man who truly sees her, who senses her duality, who remains steadfast as she wavers, something inside her relaxes, because she recognizes, even if she doesn't say it, that true freedom isn't independence. It's the security of being able to trust. But this security is almost impossible to find today, because we live in a culture where love has become a transaction. Every gesture must have a return. Every word must be balanced with a response. Every emotion must be controlled, explained, measured. The modern woman moves within this system intelligently, but not peacefully. She has learned to survive, not to feel alive. And when she meets a man who doesn't play the game, who doesn't get caught up in emotional cycles, who doesn't chase her when she distances herself, who doesn't react to provocations, at first she gets irritated. But then, something changes, because for the first time she feels a stable presence. A woman can argue with 1,000 men, but faced with one who remains calm, her body reacts differently. She doesn't say it, she doesn't admit it, but she feels it. She senses that something was missing. A calm that doesn't judge, a strength that doesn't impose, a silence that doesn't punish. It's that calm that awakens the part of her that the modern world has forced to sleep. The part that longs to feel like a woman, not because someone controls her, but because she can finally stop controlling everything. The modern woman hasn't lost her femininity. She's just hidden it behind the armor of self-sufficiency, And that armor falls only before a man who doesn't fight it. A man who doesn't try to break her, but who looks at her and says with his presence, "You can be as strong as you want. I'm not afraid." This is the secret that most men don't understand. You don't have to win against her independence, you just have to not react to it. Don't turn it into competition, but into balance. Because true male strength lies not in dominating a woman, but in standing still beside her as she changes. In not trying to explain her, but in understanding her without words. In not interpreting her every gesture as a challenge, but as a test to see if your center is real. Modern female freedom is real, but incomplete. Because freedom without connection becomes loneliness. And independence without trust becomes isolation. Today's woman has earned the right to walk alone, but deep down, she still longs for someone who knows how to walk alongside her. Not in front, not behind, alongside. But to walk alongside a woman of our time, you have to be a man of another level. A man who doesn't seek validation. A man who isn't afraid of her strength. A man who doesn't crumble before her silence. Because the modern woman doesn't want to be kept. She wants to be contained. She wants to feel she can be free without destroying what's around her. She wants to know that your presence doesn't depend on her approval. And when she finds a man like that, she can finally stop acting like a woman who doesn't need anyone. She can finally breathe. She can finally relax. The paradox is all here. The modern woman seeks freedom but finds it only alongside a man who doesn't fear her. Never in history have people been so connected, and never in history have women felt so alone. It's the most silent paradox of our time. More contact, less connection. More messages, less meaning. More attention, less presence. The modern woman lives in a world that offers her 1,000 micro-acknowledgements every day, but no real depth. Every notification is a small dose of attention. Every like is a fragment of approval. Every message is a small flash of validation. But it all vanishes in a matter of seconds. And after yet another scrolling of screens, after yet another superficial response, comes that feeling that no technology can ever eliminate. Emptiness. Because contact is not connection. Talking is not understanding. Being seen is not being understood. The modern woman receives more attention than ever, but less presence than she has ever had. And presence, for the female mind, is everything. Not the quantity of attention, but the quality of presence. A woman can receive 100 messages a day, but if none of those messages bring calm, direction, truth, she remains alone. Because what she seeks is not a man who writes to her. It's a man who feels. A man who can slow her down, who looks at her without haste, who doesn't get lost in the superficial. But we live in an age where speed has replaced depth, and emotions, instead of being lived, are consumed. Relationships have become temporary experiences. People, emotional habits, love, parentheses, to be filled between one distraction and another. And yet, despite this overabundance of stimuli, today's woman continues to search for something she can't name. Not a perfect man, not a movie story, but meaning, a sense of sharing, a sense of trust, a sense of still feeling vulnerable in a world that forces her to be armored. Many men look at all this and say, women today don't know what they want anymore. But the truth is more complex. Women know exactly what they want. They just can't find it in the modern world anymore. Because what they want can't be obtained with an app, nor with a logic. What they want is true emotional presence. But presence can't be faked. And in the image-driven society, sincerity has become the only authentic luxury. A woman today doesn't fall in love with the most handsome, or the richest, or the most charming. She falls in love with a man who needs nothing from her to remain whole, with a man who can look at her without expecting him to fill a void, with the man who, in his silence, tells her, "You can take off the mask. I'm not scared." Because the modern woman, more than anything else, is tired of pretending. Tired of always having to be interesting, available, intelligent, beautiful, productive, desirable. Tired of living in a constant state of emotional performance. That's why when she meets a man who doesn't demand a show, who doesn't measure her by what he offers, who doesn't rush to win her over, but simply lets her be. That kind of man becomes rare, and the rare, inevitably, attracts. Hyperconnection has made people believe they no longer need depth, but depth is precisely the medicine against emptiness. The modern woman, beneath the filters, the quick responses, and the ironic phrases, still has an ancient heart, a heart that longs to be listened to, not just heard, understood, not just interpreted, chosen, not just matched. And this hunger for authenticity manifests itself in moments of silence. When she looks at her phone and doesn't text, when she receives a message and doesn't respond immediately, when she deletes a number but doesn't erase the emotion. Because the heart, even in 2025, still works according to ancient laws. The modern woman is hyperstimulated, but beneath all that noise she still seeks peace. And only a man with inner peace can give her what she truly seeks. Not with promises, not with constant attention, but with a calm that brings her back to herself. Because in the world of hyperconnection, the man who knows how to slow down becomes irresistible. Slow to speak, slow to react, slow to judge. Because slowness today is the only true form of depth. A woman doesn't want a man who follows her everywhere. She wants a man who stays still long enough to make her stop, who, with his calm, shows her how useless it is to rush. Because beneath the rush, beneath the apparent freedom, beneath the thousand options and possibilities, the modern woman still seeks only one thing: a place to rest. A place where she doesn't have to prove anything, where she can lower her voice, release the tension, and simply feel again. And if you, as a man, learn to be that place, not with words but with your energy, not with control but with your calm, you will discover the truth no one has ever told you. The modern woman hasn't stopped craving love. She's just stopped believing that there's a man capable of holding it. We live in an age of instant gratification. Everything is within reach. A click for a purchase, a swipe for a contact, a message for a burst of attention. And in the world of the modern woman, this dynamic has become the new normal. It's not just about technology, but neurochemistry. Every time a notification arrives, every time a man writes, every time a like lights up the screen, a small dose of dopamine is released in the brain. It's pleasure, it's euphoria, it's a micro request for validation satisfied for a few seconds. And immediately after, the emptiness returns. Dopamine is a subtle deception. It doesn't give you happiness, it gives you anticipation. It doesn't fill you, it makes you want more. It's the cycle that transforms emotional connection into a form of addiction. So the modern woman, who thinks she can choose, who thinks she's in control of her emotions, is often actually a prisoner of an invisible chemical mechanism. She no longer seeks intimacy, she seeks stimulation. She doesn't seek depth, she seeks sensation. And when the emotion fades, she believes something is missing. But it's not the man who's missing, it's the calm. Dopamine pushes her to always seek the peak. A new message, a new conversation, a new attention, a new jolt. It's like a never-ending race. The faster she runs, the more she needs to run. And every time she slows down, anxiety invades her. Because silence, in a mind accustomed to constant stimulation, is perceived as a threat. That's why a calm man destabilizes her, because he represents the opposite of the dopamine system. He doesn't chase her. He doesn't text her 100 times. He doesn't promise her a roller coaster ride. He offers her stability. And stability, at first, seems boring to her, but it's just her mind, drugged by stimulation, that can no longer distinguish calm from emptiness. When a woman is accustomed to chaos, peace seems suspect. When she's accustomed to running, a man who walks irritates her. When she's accustomed to winning, a man who doesn't play confuses her. Yet, that confusion is the first step toward healing, because the man who doesn't react like everyone else is the first to show her the truth, that dopamine is not love, that stimulation is not presence, that adrenaline is not connection. Intimacy is not excitement, it's security. But to feel safe, she must first detox. Detox from the need to constantly feel seen, from the need to please everyone, from the need to live at an emotional peak. And this process, for the modern woman, is painful, because the world pushes her in the opposite direction. He tells her, always be active, always be desirable, always be ready, always be connected. But the constant connection consumes her, and the distance from herself grows. In a certain sense, true luxury today is no longer beauty. It's tranquility. Calm has become the rarest of experiences. When a woman meets a man who doesn't overstimulate her, who doesn't try to impress her, who doesn't react to her every provocation, at first she doesn't understand. Then she hates him. Then she thinks about him. Then she desires him, because her brain, accustomed to artificial peaks, can't explain why that man's calm creates a peace that no intense emotion has ever provided. Dopamine creates excitement, but only serotonin creates well-being. And serotonin is born from stability, trust, and an emotional routine that never betrays. That's where a woman finds herself. Except that in the modern world, that stability is seen as monotony. And many men, just to avoid appearing boring, abandon their calm. They begin to react, to chase, to explain, to try to regain interest. But in doing so, they too fall into the dopamine trap. They become part of the same system from which they should distinguish themselves, and in that moment, they lose their frame. The frame is the antidote to emotional dependence. It is the highest form of psychological mastery, because the frame doesn't respond to dopamine. It responds to direction. When a man lives by direction, he doesn't seek the peak. He seeks continuity. He doesn't seek the twist. He seeks rhythm. He doesn't seek reaction. He seeks coherence. And it is precisely this coherence that ultimately breaks the dopamine cycle in the female mind. It shows her a different type of emotion. Not the one that burns, but the one that warms. Not the one that explodes, but the one that lingers. Because true love isn't stimulation, it's prolonged calm. It's the pleasure of knowing that the other is there, even when you can't see them. It's the trust that doesn't collapse when the screen stays off. The modern woman has grown up in a world of constant shocks, but what cures her isn't another rush of emotions. It's a man who knows how to support her in silence. Her body will react to chaos, but her soul will seek peace. And when it finds it, her nervous system slowly begins to trust again. A man with frame, with calm, with presence, becomes like a subtle medicine. He doesn't give immediate thrills, but restores balance. There's no need to shout. There's no need to explain. There's no need to promise. You just need to be there, solidly, consistently, predictably. Because predictability, for a woman who has lived in chaos, is the new form of excitement. That's where she relaxes. That's where she stops running away. And you, if you really want to understand what a woman wants today, you have to understand this. She doesn't want someone to stimulate her. She wants someone to regulate her. Someone who doesn't take away her fire, but teaches her not to get burned. That he doesn't chase her mood swings, but embraces them firmly. That he doesn't try to cure her, but shows her with his presence that there's nothing to fix. Because when a woman meets a man who doesn't overstimulate her, but calms her, her nervous system recognizes him before her mind does. And what she calls attraction is nothing more than the feeling of security she hasn't felt in a long time. Dopamine tells her, chase him. Calm tells her, stop. And in that stopping, she finds herself. Love once thrived on mystery, on waiting, on silences that spoke louder than words, on glances that didn't need explanation. Today, however, we live in an age of total transparency. Everything is visible, everything is shared, everything is explained. And precisely for this reason, nothing truly attracts anymore. The modern woman knows the world like no generation before her. She knows how a man thinks. She knows what he wants. She even knows how to defend herself from emotions. But the moment everything becomes predictable, desire dies. Mystery is not manipulation. It is space. It is enough emotional distance for two people to imagine each other. And imagination is the soul of desire. Today, transparency has become a religion. You have to tell each other everything. You have to be completely open. You have to be 100% sincere. But that's not how passion is born. Passion is born in the shadows, in the gap between what I know about you and what I still can't understand. Love is a dance between the known and the unknown. And when everything is known, nothing remains to be discovered. Modern man, fearful of appearing closed or distant, often falls into this trap. He explains everything. He justifies himself. He says what he feels, when he feels it, why he feels it. But in doing so, he deprives a woman of what her mind most desires: discovery. A woman is attracted to a man who makes her think, who intrigues her, who cannot be deciphered at first glance. Not because it's ambiguous, but because it's profound, and depth doesn't show on the surface. When everything is visible, imagination fades, and without imagination, there's no magnetism. Desire is an energy born of tension, between presence and absence, between certainty and doubt, between revelation and mystery. And if that tension disappears, interest fades too. Many men confuse mystery with indifference, but they're not the same thing. Indifference is cold. Mystery is alive. Indifference distances. Mystery brings closer. Indifference denies. Mystery invites. The modern woman, immersed in a world where everyone shows themselves, where every emotion is on display, where every relationship is a public story, finds the man who doesn't expose himself completely irresistible. Not because he's closed off, but because he knows how to protect himself. Protecting means giving value. And what you protect becomes sacred. Your calm, your silence, your boundaries, they're what make you magnetic. A man who says everything loses depth. A man who shows everything loses power. A man who explains too much loses mystery. A woman wants to feel like a reader of your world, not a spectator of an open manual. She wants to discover who you are between the lines, not read you word for word. Mystery is what makes her question herself. What is he thinking? Why isn't he reacting? What is he hiding behind that silence? And in those questions, desire is born. The female mind doesn't fall in love with clarity. It falls in love with the process of understanding. And when there's nothing left to understand, it often stops hearing. Constant transparency destroys rhythm, because rhythm is born from the space between one note and the next. Too much talk, too much explanation, too much sharing. It's like music played without pauses. It becomes noise. A man with frame knows that his strength lies not in saying, but in not saying everything, in holding back a part, in allowing the woman the freedom to imagine, not because he's playing with her, but because he understands that mystery isn't a strategy. It's a form of respect. Respect for the value of silence, respect for the power of the unknown, respect for the natural balance between masculine and feminine. Women thrive on emotion, but emotion needs space to grow. If you give it everything at once, you suffocate it. If you inundate it with attention, you saturate it. If you fill it with explanations, you anesthetize it. Attraction isn't born of control. It's born of curiosity. And curiosity arises only when something remains hidden. Today, love has become an excess of words and a lack of vibration. We talk too much. We hear too little. We show too much. We live too little. And so, the man who guards his mystery becomes like a mirage in the desert. It's not he who chases the woman. It's the woman who, without understanding why, feels the need to get closer. Because mystery, in the female mind, isn't fear. It's life. It's stimulation. It's the feeling of still being capable of desiring something you can't fully grasp. That's why modern relationships burn out quickly, because they fizzle out before they're even built. Everything is too clear, too exposed, too immediate. There's no longer room for tension, for waiting, for fantasy. But mystery is what keeps the flame alive. You don't have to be an unsolvable enigma, but you must know how to protect your essence. You don't have to reveal everything about yourself. You have to let your presence do the talking. A man who speaks little, but communicates a lot with his way of being, becomes magnetic, because depth is perceived in him. And depth today is the only form of authentic luxury. Mystery cannot be improvised. It comes from a mind that has learned not to be afraid of silence, from a heart that doesn't need to be understood by everyone, from a man who doesn't seek to please, but to remain true. The modern woman can have it all, but faced with a man who doesn't reveal everything, who doesn't put himself up for sale, who remains himself even in doubt, she stops because she senses it. She senses that there for the first time is authenticity. Mystery is the calm that cannot be explained. It is the strength that doesn't show. It is the presence that doesn't ask. It is the absence that can be felt even from afar. And this is how desire is born that never fades. The desire that lives not on stimulation, but on imagination. There's a mistake many men make today. They believe that modern women want to dominate, that they want power to control, to assert themselves, to win. But that's not the case. What women really want isn't to dominate, it's to be recognized. Recognized for their value, for their intellect, for their feelings, for their effort to exist in a world that has always pushed them to be someone else. For centuries, women have had to fight to be heard. Today, finally, they can speak. But the moment they gained a voice, many discovered a new void. No one truly listens to them. They listen to them to respond, not to understand. They look at them to desire them, not to understand them. They love them to fill a void, not to respect their energy. And so they defend themselves. They become stronger, more decisive, more competitive, not by nature, but by necessity. Behind every woman who seems to want to command, there's often a woman who has stopped feeling recognized. Behind every flaunted independence lies an ancient weariness, the weariness of having to prove one's worth every day. But feminine power isn't born of control. It's born of flow. It's a soft, invisible, silent power, but unstoppable. It's like water. It has no shape, but it carves through rock. It doesn't scream, but it transforms. It doesn't impose, but it conquers. The modern woman is confused because the world has told her that to be respected, she must behave like an AM man. Be rational, competitive, detached. But in doing so, she has suffocated the most powerful part of her femininity. Femininity isn't weakness. It's magnetism. It's the strength that conquers not with force, but with presence. It's the ability to touch without grasping, to influence without imposing, to change without destroying. The modern woman, in reality, doesn't want a man to control. She wants a man before whom she can stop controlling. A man who makes her feel secure enough to be soft again. Because femininity opens only to calm, never to chaos. This is why most relationships today fail, because neither partner can return to their natural polarity. Women become rigid, men soften. Everyone seeks balance, but no one can create it. Modern femininity is not against the masculine. It needs it. It deeply desires it. But it will never say so openly, for it fears it will be used against it. And so it closes itself off. It appears strong, independent, untouchable. But behind that armor lies a woman waiting to be able to trust again. Authentic masculinity does not compete with femininity. It honors it. It does not seek to dismantle it or completely understand it, but recognizes it as a complementary force. The calm of one and the intensity of the other create an ancient harmony. When a woman feels recognized in her feminine energy, she doesn't need to fight. When she feels that her feelings are not judged, she doesn't need to defend herself. When she feels that her presence is perceived and respected, she doesn't need to raise her voice. Recognition is the fuel of femininity, not the superficial kind based on compliments, but the subtle, energetic kind. That recognition that says, I see you, I feel you,
I don't want to change you. This is why a man with a frame attracts a woman even without trying, because his calm is a form of constant recognition. He doesn't judge, he doesn't explain, he doesn't correct. He simply sees. And in feeling seen, the woman relaxes. And in relaxing, she becomes feminine again. Femininity isn't something a woman chooses to show. It's something that emerges when she feels safe. It's a natural response to the presence of a firm masculine. But today the world is full of reactive men who seek approval, who are easily offended, who live in emotional insecurity. And faced with this, the modern woman can only harden. She doesn't do it out of pride, she does it for survival. This is why a man with a frame becomes magnetic, because he's the only one who doesn't ask her to stop being strong, but shows her that she can be strong in a different way. A way that doesn't come from defense, but from balance. Femininity is not fragility. It's conscious vulnerability. It's knowing you can open up because the other won't take advantage of your openness. It's trusting without fear of being manipulated. And when a woman feels this security, her power emerges in its purest form. Intuition, empathy, delicacy, sensitivity. All qualities that modern men have learned to undervalue, but which actually govern the world. Because the man builds the bridge, but it's the woman who decides where it leads. The man creates the structure, but it's the woman who gives it meaning. The man represents direction, the woman represents meaning. Without femininity, the masculine is sterile. Without the masculine, femininity is dispersed. Only together do they become creation. And this balance isn't imposed, it awakens. It awakens when you stop seeing the woman as a threat and start seeing her as a mirror. Because a woman, deep down, doesn't want to defeat you. She wants to see you win, but not in external competition, in your internal battle. She wants to see you remain stable under pressure. She wants to know you won't crumble when she moves. She wants to feel free to be everything without you losing your center. This is the recognition she seeks, not the recognition of words, but of energy. Not the recognition of the mind, but of presence. And only the man who has found his own calm, who has recognized his own strength, who is not afraid of his depth, can give her this kind of recognition. Because to truly recognize a woman, you must first recognize yourself. Only then does your energy stop reacting and begin to contain. And when you contain without controlling, the woman stops wanting to dominate you. Because there is nothing left to conquer, there is only trust. What distinguishes a man who pleases from a man who stays is simple: presence. Not physical strength, not the right words, not promises or romantic gestures. Presence. That kind of energy that says, even in silence, I'm not moving. In the modern world, most men react to the wrong word, to sudden silence, to an unanswered message, to a change in tone. They live in a constant state of emotional alert. A woman's every gesture becomes a test, a threat, a confirmation, or a rejection. But a man who has understood himself no longer lives like this, because he has understood a liberating truth. Not everything that happens requires a response. The modern woman, consciously or not, constantly tests a man. Not to manipulate, but to understand how much she can trust, how solid her core is, how genuine her calm is. Every little test, a cold tone, a sudden distance, a provocation, is not an attack. It's a silent question. If I touch your ego, will you stay the same? If I distance myself, will you remain stable or will you chase me? If I contradict you, will you lose yourself or will you remain clear about who you are? And here the two types of men diverge. There is the one who reacts, who justifies himself, who needs to prove himself, who interprets every gesture as disrespect. And there is the one who observes, who understands without giving in, who listens without justifying himself, who maintains the frame. The first man loses energy with every movement. The second conserves it, because he knows that his strength lies not in convincing, but in containing. Presence is exactly this, the ability to remain complete even when the other moves.
It is the calm that does not change direction before the wind. It is the mountain that does not bend to the seasons. A reactive man lives according to the woman's rhythm. A man with presence creates his own rhythm. And when a woman meets a man who does not react like the rest of the world, something inside her changes, because she feels that that man is not at the mercy. He is in command, not of the outside world, but of himself. The woman does not respect the man who tries to dominate her. She respects the man who dominates himself. And this domination is not coldness, not indifference, not detachment. It is mastery. Emotional mastery is a form of calm that is earned. It is not innate. It comes from every mistake, every argument in which you've said too much, every night you've asked yourself, why did I react like that? It's the fruit of awareness, not suppression. Many men confuse calm with repression. They believe that holding back means being strong. But true strength isn't holding back. It's making a conscious choice. A man with presence doesn't react because he doesn't need to. Not because he couldn't, but because he's understood that reacting is like throwing gasoline on a fire. Every time you respond impulsively, you lose a piece of power. Every time you respond calmly, you multiply it. The modern woman, accustomed to men who change tone with every message, immediately recognizes those who don't fall for the game. At first, she provokes him. Then she observes him. Finally, she respects him. It's not an imposed respect. It's a natural respect. The kind that arises when she senses that next to that man, she can finally stop leading. Because in her deepest instinct, a woman doesn't want to be in charge. She wants to feel that the man beside her is capable of leading. And a man doesn't lead by shouting or imposing. He leads by remaining still. The authentic masculine doesn't seek to win. He seeks to support. He doesn't react to chaos. He regulates it. He doesn't compete with femininity. He channels it. A man with presence doesn't argue to be right. He knows that reason is useless when respect is lost. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't stoop to provocation. He doesn't win with words. He wins with silence. Because calm, when it's authentic, is authority. And authority doesn't impose itself. It's felt. A man who maintains his center in the face of a storm becomes like a magnet, not because he's perfect, but because he represents what the woman has forgotten: stability. In her world of fragile connections, fluctuating emotions, and confusing roles, masculine stability becomes the point of reference. No matter how intense or independent it is, a part of her still seeks that calm energy that doesn't react, but observes. And when he finds it, his body recognizes it before his mind does. He relaxes. He lowers his guard. He breathes differently, because he feels he no longer has to control everything. This is true male power. Not physical strength, but nervous strength. The ability to remain calm amidst another's emotional turmoil, to contain feminine intensity without extinguishing it, to accept its waves without sinking. And to achieve this, only one thing is needed: internal autonomy. It means not living for her approval, not seeking constant validation, not basing your calm on her mood. Many men fall into this invisible error. They say, I'm calm as long as she's calm. But that's not calm. It's synchronized emotional dependence. True calm is, she can change, I'm the same. Being a man with presence means knowing how to remain in tension without reacting, looking into the fire without getting burned, feeling the turmoil without wanting to solve it immediately. You don't have to fix her. You don't have to explain logic to her. You don't have to teach her how to behave. You just have to stay present. Because when you stay present, without judgment, without fear, without the anxiety of losing, you offer her what no one else has ever given her: a safe space where she can finally be herself. And in that space, the woman stops fighting. She stops testing you. She stops playing games because she has understood that it's no longer useful. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to defend. There is only a man in front of her who doesn't run away, doesn't break down, doesn't react. He stays. And the moment he stays,
He becomes the anchor in a world that changes every day. He becomes the symbol of calm in an age of confusion. He becomes what every woman seeks, even if she doesn't say so. A stable presence. Not perfect, not brilliant, not always understanding, but consistent. And consistency today is more erotic than any beauty, rarer than any promise, more powerful than any word. A man who doesn't react but understands, doesn't impose but guides, doesn't speak but communicates, is a man who no longer needs approval, because he has understood an ancient truth. Love isn't about trying to change the other, but about remaining whole while you experience it. And only those who know how to stay can truly love. The modern world has become noisy. Everyone talks, everyone explains, everyone reacts. Every man today feels the need to say something, to justify himself, to clarify, to prove he's right. But the truly powerful man doesn't speak. He communicates without words. Silence is the language of leaders, of those who master themselves, of those who have understood that there's no point in convincing the world when the world notices your presence on its own. There's nothing more masculine than a man who knows how to remain silent, not out of fear, but out of control. Silence isn't a lack of voice. It's mastery of time. It's knowing that every word has a price, and that those who talk too much sell themselves short. Every time you react instinctively, you lose power. Every time you explain yourself too much, you lose your mystery. Every time you try to make yourself understood, you lose your magnetism. A man with a frame doesn't need words to be clear. His calm speaks. His posture speaks. His gaze speaks. And his silence, more than any speech, brings order to chaos. The modern woman isn't attracted to words. She's attracted to those who can afford not to use them. Because in a world where everyone reacts, the man who remains immobile becomes a beacon. Male silence isn't closure. It's leadership. It's saying, I lead, not run. It's knowing that time works in your favor. It's understanding that the truth doesn't need to be shouted to be true. When a woman provokes you, don't respond immediately. Wait, watch, breathe. Because in that wait, power shifts. Power passes from the one who reacts to the one who chooses. And silence is the most powerful choice a man can make. Many men are afraid of silence. They perceive it as a void. But silence isn't a void. It's space. A space where others reveal themselves. A space where truth emerges on its own. When you remain silent, you see more. You feel more. You understand what others hide behind their words. And when you speak, every word weighs like stone. Male silence is not an absence of emotion. It is the ability to contain emotion without letting it explode. To feel everything, but choose not to express it immediately. Modern men confuse expression with freedom. They believe that saying everything they think is strength. In reality, it is impulsiveness. Strength is not saying what you feel. It is knowing when and if to say it. Silence becomes a form of command, because those who speak too much lose authority. Those who speak little but say the right thing at the right time are listened to. In relationships, male silence is often the breaking point. Many women interpret it as coldness, but an intelligent, sensitive woman, deeply connected to her, recognizes it for what it is, a test of balance. Silence says, I'm not here to win the argument, I'm here to keep myself. Most people today don't know how to remain silent because silence reveals. It forces you to feel what you avoid. It shows you what distraction hides. This is why silence is feared. But for the man with frames, it is his natural territory. In silence, a man rediscovers his direction. He re-listens to his mind. He reconnects his energy. A man who knows how to remain silent in the face of an insult is not weak. He is powerful, because an insult requires a reaction to survive. If you don't react, it dies on its own. A man who knows how to remain silent in the face of provocation is not submissive. He is dominant, because there is no greater dominion than the control of one's own state.
Every reaction is a confession. You touched me. Every silence is an affirmation. You didn't touch me. And when the modern woman meets a man who doesn't react but remains present, something within her awakens. Because that kind of calm is uncommon. It's ancient. It's the calm of tribal chiefs, of philosophers, of men who don't need to assert themselves because they're already affirmed within. Male silence is an invitation. It invites women to slow down, to look within, to feel instead of analyzing, to live instead of controlling. When a man is silent at the right time, he doesn't create distance. He creates sacred space, a space where the ego is silenced and the truth can emerge. Many men talk too much because they fear being misunderstood. But the man with a frame doesn't fear misunderstanding, because he knows that those who are destined to understand him will do so even in silence. His language is not that of words, but that of energy. And energy never lies. A woman can argue with your words, but she can't argue with your calm. She can oppose your thoughts, but she can't resist your presence. Male silence is not passivity. It's restrained intention. It's compressed strength. It's controlled power. And that controlled power is what femininity perceives as security. Because masculine and feminine aren't attracted through logic, but through nerves. The way your body responds to chaos, the way your voice stays steady, the way your breathing doesn't change rhythm. This is the language she understands, even if she doesn't admit it. In a world that talks too much, silence is the new charisma. It's what sets you apart from those competing for attention. It's your invisible signature. Leadership isn't demonstrated, it radiates. And silence is the medium through which your energy speaks louder than any speech. When you learn to be silent at the right time, you begin to command without raising your voice. You begin to influence without asking for anything. You begin to be remembered even when you're not there. Because true power lies not in convincing, but in letting reality bend to your rhythm. And the rhythm of the authentic masculine is slow, deep, steady. Silence is the ultimate form of strength. It's saying, I don't have to react to exist. It's demonstrating that your value doesn't depend on the attention of others. It's embodying the calm that everyone seeks, but few can sustain. Ultimately, silence is the ultimate proof of your inner mastery, because only those who are truly strong can afford not to speak. Calm is not a quality, it's a weapon. Not one that hurts, but one that reveals. Because true calm forces others to show themselves for who they are. When a man is calm, everything around him is laid bare. Masks fall. Energies are revealed. Nervous people lose balance. Authentic people relax. And this happens especially with women. Because masculine calm is not just a virtue, it's an energy field. It's a frequency that communicates security, direction, and protection. When a woman perceives this energy, her body feels it before her mind. Her shoulders relax. Her tone lowers. Her breathing rhythm changes. She senses that it can be. But be careful. Authentic calm is not acting calm. It's being at peace. It's not holding back anger. It's no longer needing to react. It's not pretending to be calm. It's knowing that nothing can truly touch you unless you let it. Calm isn't improvised. It's earned. It's the result of years of inner storms weathered without running away. It's the reward of those who have learned to remain lucid even in pain. It's the fruit of those who have walked through fire without getting burned. A man with this calm doesn't need to prove anything, because his presence speaks volumes. The modern woman is accustomed to movement, emotional, mental, social. She's used to men who chase her, who explain, who promise, who try to fill every silence with words. And when she meets a man who doesn't move to her rhythm, who remains still even under pressure, she initially doesn't know how to react. She's destabilized, because her entire mind, trained to manage chaos, doesn't know what to do when faced with a man who doesn't get into the game. She's like a ballerina who finds herself dancing in front of a motionless mirror. At first she finds it frustrating. Then, inevitably, she synchronizes. Calm is contagious. Like fire, calm absorbs. It doesn't push. It doesn't pull.
it invites, and slowly, its energy begins to adapt to yours. When you remain calm in the face of provocation, you're saying, "I don't live in your emotions." When you remain calm in the face of a test, you're saying, "I don't seek validation." When you remain calm in the face of silence, you're saying, "I don't depend on your answer." And in that moment, you're no longer just another man. You become a force. Calm is the only quality that can't be imitated for long. Those who feign calm betray themselves in the details, in their breathing, their gaze, their voice, their posture. Calm isn't an attitude. It's a vibration. When you truly have peace within, you can't lose it for what happens outside. And a woman, faced with this, can't help but respect you, because calm is a language that the female mind instinctively understands. It's the opposite of anxiety. It's the opposite of neediness. It's proof that you're not afraid. Many men try to attract with force, with logic, with attention. But true attraction comes from stability, because stability is the harbor where a woman can finally stop swimming. Many women today live on the open sea, emotionally, psychologically, socially. They're constantly on the move. They have to keep everything under control. And most of the men they meet only add waves to that sea. A calm man, on the other hand, is the shore. It's the point where the current's calm. It's the certainty that doesn't move even when everything else changes. When a woman meets a man like that, she never forgets him, because that kind of energy remains imprinted in her body. It doesn't matter if the relationship ends, if life changes, if the distance grows. That man's calm remains like a physical memory, like an echo that says, "Next to him, I was peace." Calm is the greatest form of seduction there is, because it promises nothing. It doesn't seduce with words. It doesn't enchant with gestures. It doesn't conquer with appearances. It seduces with presence. Calm disarms because it eliminates the power struggle. A woman can't control a man who doesn't react. She can't test it if she doesn't play the game. She can't manipulate it if it doesn't respond to her patterns. And at that point, the only thing left is the truth. And the truth is that she doesn't really want to fight. She wants to surrender. Not in the sense of submitting, but in the sense of finally being able to relax, to stop defending herself, to trust. A calm man doesn't have to say, "You can trust me." Trust is felt. It's an emotion the body recognizes. When a woman perceives you as a source of calm, she doesn't have to understand why. Her subconscious knows it. She knows that her nervous system isn't on high alert when she's around you. She knows she shouldn't hide parts of herself. She knows she shouldn't play games. That's why calm is irresistible, because it touches the deepest level of human connection, the biological one. Not mental, not verbal, but primal. Calm doesn't shout. It doesn't ask. It doesn't show. It simply exists. It's what makes the difference between a man who wants to be loved and a man who is love in and of himself. A calm man becomes a lens that reflects everything. A woman sees herself more clearly through his presence. The chaos she carried inside begins to dissolve. And for the first time, she doesn't feel the need to defend herself. This is how respect is born. This is how true attraction is born. Not from the desire to fill a void, but from the discovery of someone who has none. A calm man is not empty. He is full of awareness. His every gesture is intentional. His every word is measured. His every look has direction. Not because he controls himself, but because he knows himself. And self-knowledge is the highest form of power. Because those who know themselves don't let themselves be defined by anyone. They don't depend on judgments. They don't change with mood. They don't seek acceptance. They are whole. And integrity, for a woman, is the most attractive thing there is. Because in a man's calm, she sees the possibility of returning to herself. Calm is a silent invitation to stop pretending, to return to the truth, to remember that there's no need to fight to be seen. Just be. And this is why, when faced with a calm man, even the strongest, most independent, most reserved woman lowers her gaze. Not because she is submissive, but because her body recognizes something greater than herself. Presence. Calm is the invisible weapon of the mature masculine.
It doesn't hurt, but conquers. It doesn't dominate, but guides. It doesn't convince, but transforms. And those who learn to use it no longer need anything else. Once upon a time, being beautiful was enough. A look, a smile, a well-groomed presence, and everything seemed possible. But not anymore. Today, beauty alone isn't enough, because it has become a mass economy. Every face can be filtered. Every body can be altered. Every photo can be made perfect. Beauty is everywhere. And precisely for this reason, it's worth nothing. Today, the only thing that can't be faked is confidence. Not the aggressive kind, not the superficial kind, but the kind you feel even when you say nothing. The kind that lets those around you breathe. The kind that can't be bought, faked, or imitated. The modern woman, surrounded by men who seek visibility, who thrive on attention and validation, immediately recognizes those who don't need any of this. She senses it in an instant, not by what they say, but by what they shouldn't say. Confidence isn't about talking about yourself. It's not having to. It's not about making an impression. It's about having nothing to prove. And this is the rarest quality in today's world. A confident man isn't one who constantly appears to be a winner. He's one who remains whole even when he loses. He's one who doesn't hide behind victories, nor is ashamed of his wounds. He's one who doesn't beg for attention, because his energy already fills the space. And the modern woman, even though she lives in a world that offers her infinite options, can immediately recognize the difference between a man who wants to be liked and a man who is liked because he doesn't want to. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's calm. It's that lightness with which you look at the world, knowing that whatever happens, you won't lose yourself. It's the silent confidence of someone who knows he shouldn't hold anything back because nothing real can truly escape. The confident man doesn't chase, not because he doesn't care, but because he's learned to respect time. He knows that the energy he chases escapes, and the energy he welcomes stays. Insecurity, on the other hand, is felt immediately. It's recognized in the need to explain oneself, the need to be understood, the need to get an immediate response. Insecurity is always loud. Confidence, on the other hand, whispers. A woman can be attracted by a face, a body, a voice, but she only falls in love with an energy. And the most attractive energy for a woman is not that of the man she pursues, but that of the man who knows. He knows who he is. He knows what he wants. He knows what he won't accept. He knows what he no longer has to prove. Today, confidence is the new luxury. In a world where everyone seeks to be seen, those who are already visible to themselves become irresistible. The modern woman has a radar. She senses immediately whether a man is centered or empty. She understands it from the way he speaks, the way he listens, the way he looks. The male body may attract, but it is the masculine energy that conquers her. And this energy doesn't come from the body. It comes from inner certainty. From knowing that you don't have to be the most beautiful, nor the strongest, nor the most intelligent. You just have to be whole. A whole man doesn't compete because he knows there's nothing to win. He doesn't try to please because he knows that what's his will recognize on its own. He doesn't force because he knows that calm is the highest form of strength. Beauty wears out. Confidence grows. Beauty attracts for a moment. Confidence lasts for a lifetime. A woman may admire a handsome man, but she bonds with a confident man because next to him she no longer has to pretend. She doesn't have to compete. She doesn't have to fight to be seen. She feels recognized. And when a woman feels recognized, she doesn't leave. Confidence is contagious. Calm is magnetic. A confident man doesn't need to conquer. His energy attracts, not because it promises something, but because it represents something that is lacking today: solidity. The modern woman lives in an unstable world, economically, emotionally, socially. Everything changes, everything flows, everything is fragile. And so her body unconsciously seeks security. Not material security, but energetic security. She wants to feel that the man beside her won't break when she explodes, that he won't change his tune when she changes mood, that he won't lose control when she tests him, because only then can she finally let go. And in that moment, the strongest woman becomes vulnerable, not because she is weak, but because she feels safe. Male security isn't just a personal quality, it's a service to the world. Every time a man chooses calm instead of reaction, balance expands. Every time he chooses consistency instead of haste, trust grows. Every time he remains whole instead of bowing to consensus, he teaches others what strength means. And this is the new attraction, one that isn't based on the body, but on presence. One that doesn't depend on time, but on energy. Because the body ages, the face changes, words are forgotten. But the feeling of calm you leave in the other lasts forever. A handsome man can please many. A confident man stays with one, because he doesn't move out of need, but by choice. And choice is what the modern woman desires more than anything else, to be chosen by a man who didn't need to choose her. Security is desire without anxiety, love without fear, silence without emptiness. And in that silence, a woman rediscovers the peace she no longer finds in the world. This is true seduction. Not the gesture, not the phrase, not the appearance, but the profound feeling that your world is in order. And next to you, his begins to be too. The modern man fears solitude. He fills it with notifications, noises, distractions, temporary presences. He fears silence because in silence there is no one to impress. And then he no longer knows who he is. But the man who has learned to be alone is a free man. He doesn't need to be sought out to feel alive. He doesn't need to be chosen to feel worthy. He doesn't need company to feel complete. He is whole, and wholeness is the most magnetic quality there is, because a man who knows how to be alone is never waiting. He doesn't move out of lack. He doesn't offer himself for fear of being forgotten. He doesn't cling to fill the void. He chooses, and the modern woman feels it. The rare man isn't the one who isolates himself. He's the one who isn't afraid of emptiness. He's the one who knows that emptiness isn't lack, but space. Space to reflect, space to build, space to understand. Most men today can't stand that space. As soon as a moment of silence arrives, they rush to fill it. They write, they chat, they scroll, they consume. Anything to avoid listening to their own mind. But those who manage to remain in that silence without running away begin to see everything clearly. They understand who is worthy and who isn't. They understand where love ends and attachment begins. They understand the difference between the desire to connect and the fear of being alone. And when a man reaches that level of awareness, he becomes rare. Rare because he doesn't beg for attention. Rare because he doesn't chase those who don't choose him. Rare because he doesn't get lost in power games. Rare because he lives by his own rules. The modern woman, accustomed to men who sacrifice themselves to please, is struck by those who don't need to be accepted. Not because they're arrogant, but because they're complete. Not because they despise others, but because they don't seek completion through them. A man who knows how to be alone is difficult to control. You don't frighten him with silence. You don't hurt him with indifference. You don't move him with the fear of loss. Because he's already faced the greatest loss, that of who he was before knowing himself. And he's overcome it. He's discovered that solitude isn't a punishment, but a teacher. It teaches you not to chase those who ignore you. It teaches you to be self-sufficient when the world is silent. It teaches you to build roots within yourself, so strong that no one can break them. Modern society sells you the idea that being alone is a sign of failure, that if you're not constantly connected, you're forgotten. But the paradox is that the man who can handle being alone is the one everyone remembers, because his energy doesn't demand, it radiates. It doesn't propose, it imposes itself naturally. It doesn't offer itself, it lets itself be found. And the woman who meets a man like that perceives him as something she can't buy or control. He's a man who can't be obtained, who can only be attracted. When a man isn't afraid of solitude, he becomes unpredictable. Not because he changes, but because he doesn't let himself be manipulated. He doesn't react to the fear of being abandoned. He doesn't build his identity around a relationship. He's free, and freedom, for a woman, is irresistible, because freedom is synonymous with choice, and a woman wants to feel chosen, not needed. She wants to know that even if you could be fine alone, you've decided to stay with her, not out of need, but out of will, not out of dependence, but out of alignment. The rare man doesn't fill his life with people, he fills his life with meaning. He doesn't measure the value of his time in the attention received, but in the clarity achieved. He isn't afraid of emptiness because he has found himself in the emptiness. The woman senses it. She feels that beside him there is no chaos, no rush, no fear. There is direction, and that direction is what attracts her most of all. A man who knows how to be alone doesn't get lost in the emotions of others. He observes them, he understands them, but he doesn't take them personally, because he knows that every person struggles with their own demons, and he has already made peace with his. That's why his presence is calm. That's why his voice is deep. That's why his energy is stable. Not because he doesn't feel anything, but because he has learned not to be overwhelmed by what he feels. The rare man doesn't chase pleasure. He seeks peace. He doesn't collect experiences to feel alive. He builds a life that doesn't need to be filled, and that inner peace becomes his charisma. You can't fake calm. You can't imitate balance. You can't copy independence. Either you have it or you don't. And the only way to achieve it is to go through solitude to the very end. To sit in the darkness, feel the silence, accept the emptiness, and realize that you're not dying. That, in fact, you're truly beginning to be born. From that moment on, nothing scares you anymore. Not abandonment, not rejection, not misunderstanding, because you've discovered that value doesn't come from outside. It comes from you. A man who knows how to be alone is a man who has overcome emotional dependence. And emotional freedom is the most powerful aphrodisiac there is. Not for what it says, but for what it transmits. Tranquility, fullness, direction, security. And all this doesn't come from the need to appear strong, but from the humility of having faced your own fragility without running away. Because the truth is that solitude takes nothing away from you. It gives you everything back. It gives you back time. It restores your clarity. It restores your strength. The rare man is not the one who has never suffered. He is the one who has suffered but has not broken. He is the one who has lost but has not lost himself. He is the one who has walked alone and discovered that the path was not so dark after all. And when he returns to the world, he no longer seeks refuge. He becomes the refuge. He no longer seeks someone who understands him. He becomes the calm that others seek. This is why those who know how to be alone become irresistible, because they represent everything the world has forgotten. Strength, calm, freedom, presence. They need nothing, and for this very reason, everything seeks it. True strength is not shown, it is controlled, and the highest form of control is non-reaction. In today's world, anyone can raise their voice, argue, offend, but very few men know how to remain still. Reaction is the most expensive currency in existence. Every time you react, you pay with your energy. Every time you justify yourself, you pay with your calm. Every time you try to have the last word, you pay with your respect. Whoever reacts loses. Because the moment you react, you give power to the other. You tell them, "You touch something inside me," and from that moment, you are no longer in control. Emotional discipline is not coldness. It is mastery. It is knowing how to recognize what you feel without allowing it to govern you. An emotionally disciplined man is not devoid of emotions. He feels them all, but he chooses them. He is not a machine. He is a warrior who knows his own mind. Every provocation is a temptation to react, to defend himself, to justify himself. But the authentic masculine does not fall into the trap, because he knows that whoever reacts exposes himself, and whoever exposes himself without control weakens himself. Emotional discipline is a form of inner silence. It is the breath that remains calm while everything around moves. It is the mind that observes instead of judging. It is the body that does not stiffen in the face of attack. When you learn not to react, you become dangerous, because no one can manipulate you anymore. No one can make you lose your balance. No one can drag you into the mire of their chaos. The modern woman constantly tests your reactivity, not because she's mean, but because her instinct pushes her to seek stability. She wants to know if she can trust you, and trust doesn't come from words. It comes from consistency under pressure. Every test, every provocation, every cutting word is a hidden question. Are you still the same now? If you stay, you win. If you react, you collapse. The art of not reacting is one of the purest forms of leadership, because it leads without imposing. It teaches without speaking. It shows without explaining. When a woman realizes she can't drag you into her storm, she begins to respect you. And that respect becomes attraction, because you have shown the rarest quality, self-control. The man who doesn't react communicates just one thing: you don't control my state, and this message, even without words, is worth more than 1,000 romantic gestures. In the modern world, everyone is a slave to their emotions. A word is enough to ignite anger, a silence to generate anxiety, a refusal to unleash revenge. But those who remain intact in the storm become a fixed point. Non-reaction is not weakness. It is strategy, because those who do not react observe, and those who observe understand, and those who understand win. An emotionally disciplined man does not respond to impulse. He responds to the truth. He knows that anger is only a temporary release. He knows that pride is only fear disguised as strength. He knows that impulsiveness is the enemy of clarity. And so he waits, breathes, looks. Let the other person reveal themselves. Most people betray themselves. Stop waiting. The truth, with time, always reveals itself. That's why calm is your weapon. It makes you see what others don't notice. It allows you to act at the right moment, not in the emotional moment. Many men believe that emotional discipline is innate, that it's a quality of the few. That's not true. It's a daily choice. Whenever life provokes you, you have two options: react or maintain the frame. Every choice builds or destroys your energetic reputation. And your energetic reputation is what a woman perceives even before your appearance. You can be handsome, intelligent, successful, but if you're reactive, you're predictable. And a predictable man isn't attractive because he has no mystery, no power, no direction. Emotional discipline, on the other hand, is pure mystery, because no one ever understands how far you can go. You're impenetrable, calculable, because your calm is deeper than their strategies. And that's scary, because those who don't react can't be controlled. In a relationship, a man who doesn't react doesn't lose power. He creates it. Every time he stands still, he forces the other to move. Every time he stays silent, he forces the other to look within. Every time he doesn't respond immediately, he forces the other to confront their own insecurity. And this isn't a psychological game. It's natural balance. Because when one moves too much, the other must remain still to restore order. The man who has self-control doesn't need to argue. He doesn't try to win an argument. He knows that those who argue too much have already lost. Those who explain too much are already on the defensive. Those who react too much are already vulnerable. Emotional discipline is also the ability to accept that not everything needs to be resolved immediately. That not everything deserves a response. That not everything that provokes you is yours. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to not be impulsive. Every time you remain calm when you could have reacted, your power grows. Every time you let time speak, your authority strengthens. Every time you choose direction instead of drama, you become a leader. Non-reaction is not closure, it's autonomy. It's knowing you can be touched but not dragged along. It's knowing you can feel everything, but not be dictated to. And this balance is what separates the common man from the superior masculine. A man who knows not to react is a man who has conquered himself. And he who conquers himself no longer needs to conquer anyone, because at that point the world begins to revolve around him. There's one word that scares more than any other today: consistency. Because consistency requires stability, and stability requires strength. We live in an age of people who change their minds every day, who say one thing and do another, who promise consistency but live on fleeting emotions. Yet, consistency is what distinguishes an ordinary man from a man of value. Being consistent doesn't mean being rigid. It means having an internal axis that doesn't shift with the wind. It means that the world can move as it wills, but you remain the same. A consistent man is predictable in his strength. And this, for a woman, is magnetic. Because today's men are unpredictable in their weakness. Calm today, reactive tomorrow. Present today, vanish tomorrow. Centered today, full of fears tomorrow. But very few are predictable in their strength. Being predictable in their strength means that your behavior doesn't depend on how you feel, but on who you are. You don't act because you feel like it. You act because it's right. You don't respect because it's convenient for you. You respect because it's your nature. This consistency creates trust, and trust is the deepest form of attraction. Because modern women are tired of the emotional roller coaster. She's tired of men who say, "I'll always be there," and then disappear at the first sign of discomfort. She's tired of apparent strength that crumbles at the first serious look. When she meets a consistent man, she no longer has to guess. She knows you won't change your face at the first silence. She knows you won't turn cold at the first difficulty. She knows you won't run away when she becomes vulnerable. And that calms her more than any sweet word. Consistency isn't rigid. It's noble. It's saying, "I choose to be the same man, even when no one's looking." The modern world teaches you that constant change is synonymous with evolution. But that's not true. Evolving doesn't mean changing direction every week. It means going deeper, not jumping higher. Consistency is depth. It's staying true to your principles when it would be easier to betray them. It's keeping a calm tone even when your ego wants to scream. It's not giving in to momentary emotions just to get a quick win. A consistent man isn't predictable because he's boring. He's predictable because he's reliable. And reliability today is a superpower. Modern women are attracted to consistent men because they can relax with them. They no longer have to decipher signals. They no longer have to test boundaries. They no longer have to live with anxiety about what will happen tomorrow. Because they know that whatever happens, your energy will be the same. Being consistent doesn't mean being perfect. It means being whole. When you make a mistake, you admit it. When you hurt, you make amends. When you promise, you keep it. Consistency is a form of honor, and honor is the backbone of the authentic masculine. A man without consistency is like a broken compass. He may move, but he never gets anywhere. Many men today live by their mood. Today they work hard. Tomorrow they give up. Today they meditate. Tomorrow they get distracted. Today they say, "I won't be influenced anymore." And the next day they fall into the same patterns. This instability destroys every form of respect. Consistency, on the other hand, creates an energetic reputation. It's like an invisible scent that people smell. When you are consistent, your energy becomes predictable for the good. Anyone who meets you already knows what to expect. And in a world of chaos, predictability and strength is a refuge. A consistent man doesn't thrive on peaks and troughs. He thrives on rhythm. He's constant. He doesn't have to do anything extraordinary because his normality is already extraordinary in an age of inconsistency. Being consistent means that your words and actions coincide, that your calm doesn't change with the audience, that your discipline doesn't depend on motivation, that your kindness doesn't depend on recognition. A consistent man doesn't waste time convincing. He lets reality speak for him, and reality, when supported by consistency, becomes inevitable. The modern woman, even if she won't tell you, dreams of a consistent man. Not a hero, not an idealist, but someone who remains the same even when the world changes. Because consistency, for a woman, is synonymous with security. And security is the purest form of love. When you are consistent, your presence becomes a fixed point. Not because you impose rules, but because you are the rule. Not because you try to maintain control, but because you don't lose it. And this consistency makes you predictable in strength. She can count on you. She can get angry, distance herself, challenge you. But she knows you won't change direction. She knows that your calm isn't a strategy, but a natural fit. Predictability and strength doesn't dampen attraction. It amplifies it, because a woman can only open herself completely when she feels secure in the container that surrounds her. And you, with your consistency, become that container. Being consistent doesn't mean never changing your mind. It means never changing your identity. You can grow, learn, adapt, but you remain yourself. You don't sell your calm for pleasure. You don't trade your integrity for love. You don't exchange your direction for approval. And in a world where everyone bends, those who remain upright become legends, because consistency isn't an ancient virtue. It's a modern necessity. In an age where everything is relative, the consistent man is absolute. And the world, consciously or not, always follows what is absolute. There are two types of men: those who seek to command and those who simply lead. The first imposes. The second radiates. The first speaks to be heard. The second is listened to even when silent. The first wants to be followed. The second walks, and the others naturally follow. Male leadership is not authority. It is a directional presence. It is not built through control, but through consistency. It is not achieved by shouting, but by staying centered. Modern women often unconsciously seek precisely this type of man. A man who doesn't tell her what to do, but shows her how. A man who doesn't impose calm, but embodies it. Who doesn't preach stability, but emanates it. True leadership doesn't need to explain itself. It is recognized, not self-proclaimed. It doesn't define itself as a leader. It is. And the proof is that even silence next to him has a direction. A man who leads without imposing doesn't need external force because he possesses internal authority. And internal authority is not born from domination, but from clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you want, what you won't accept. Clarity is magnetic. It doesn't need explanations. It doesn't need volume. It just needs presence. And presence, when authentic, becomes a compass for those around you. Modern men are confused because they believe that to be strong, they must be dominant. But dominance is born from fear. From the fear of not being listened to, of not being respected, of not being enough. Leadership, on the other hand, is born from balance. A man who leads doesn't have to convince. He walks in his truth, and truth, when alive, naturally attracts those ready to follow it. Modern women are attracted to a man who leads not because they want to submit, but because leadership frees them. It allows them to relax, to not always have to make decisions, to not always have to manage everything. Strong women don't look for a man stronger than them. They look for a man who lightens their load. And true male leadership does just that. It removes weight, not adds it. A man who leads calmly doesn't overwhelm. He elevates. He doesn't force trust. He builds it day after day. He doesn't say, "Trust me." He says, "Look at how I live." And she trusts herself, because trust isn't asked for, it's inspired. The man who leads without imposing is a man who has learned the power of rhythm. He doesn't rush, he doesn't chase, he doesn't stop. He advances steadily, like a river that silently carves through rock. His strength is quiet, but unstoppable. It doesn't explode, it expands. And women, even the most rebellious, recognize this energy because they feel it in their bodies, because it gives them security without taking away their freedom, because they don't need to fight it. When a man leads with balance, he doesn't ask to be followed. He creates the conditions for following him to become natural, because his calm becomes direction, because his integrity becomes a refuge. Silent leadership is the pinnacle of masculinity. There's no more ego, no more demonstration, no more effort. There's only presence. A presence that says, "You can trust my movement.
A man who leads with presence doesn't always have to be right, but he must always be centered. He may be wrong, he may change his mind, but his tone doesn't change. His respect doesn't change. His posture doesn't change. And this makes him rare, because today many men seek power through intensity. But true power is consistency. It's being there even when it's inconvenient. It's choosing stability when emotion demands a reaction. It's maintaining direction even when the world disperses. A man who leads like this becomes predictable in his strength, not because he's rigid, but because he's reliable. And this predictability calms a woman more than 1,000 words, because it shows her that even if the world changes, there will always be something solid beside her. Silent leadership isn't a lack of voice. It's intelligent use of the voice. A man who leads speaks little, but every word is thoughtful, intentional, direct. He doesn't speak to fill, he speaks to convey. And when he speaks, the world listens. Not because he's feared, but because he's respected. Not because she raises her voice, but because every word comes from the silence of certainty. The modern woman isn't looking for a man to tell her what to do. She's looking for a man who reminds her who she is. A man who, with his calm, helps her rediscover the most feminine and powerful part of herself: trust. This is why the masculine leader shouldn't force anything. He just has to keep the pace. The woman will synchronize herself, not with fear, but with the ease of someone who has found a stable presence where she can finally let go. True leadership doesn't drag. It attracts. It doesn't coerce. It inspires. It doesn't shout. It resonates. And those who manage to embody this form of silent leadership not only earn the respect of those around them, but become a magnet for all that is true, strong, and pure. Because the world, in the chaos of uncertainty, always follows calm. And calm, when alive, is the clearest sign of authentic leadership. Everyone talks about seduction as if it were a game of strategies. But the truth is that true seduction isn't born from movement. It comes from peace. He's not the man who speaks best, nor the one who sends the perfect message, nor the one who understands women. He's the man who simply doesn't need anything, who is whole, who is stable, who, even in the midst of chaos, remains himself. Female desire isn't ignited by excitement, it's ignited by stability, because stability is security. And security, for a woman's mind and body, is the first sign of attraction. It's not rational. It's biological. It's ancient. It's inscribed in her nervous system. When a woman perceives a calm, stable, present man, her body reacts, not because he does something, but because she relaxes. And only when she relaxes can she truly desire. The stable masculine doesn't conquer. It awakens. It awakens the deepest, most feminine part of a woman, the part that can finally let go without fear. Today, most women live in tension. Mental, emotional, physical tension. Always alert. Always defending themselves. Always managing. And the world full of insecure, impulsive, and reactive men only increases that tension. When a stable man arrives, she doesn't need to say a word. His mere presence communicates, "You can rest." And this feeling is irresistible, because in an age where everyone rushes, a man who is in no hurry becomes a mystery. The stable man doesn't chase. He doesn't play. He doesn't force. He doesn't manipulate. He doesn't promise what he doesn't feel. He walks calmly and lets those who need to follow him do so. He doesn't seduce with neediness. He seduces with presence. And presence is peace incarnate. A woman can be attracted to many men, but only with a stable man does she feel the desire to stay. Because with him, her body stops defending itself. And desire, true desire, is born only in security. Many men confuse excitement with attraction. They try to stimulate strong emotions, to create highs and lows, to maintain the mystery. But all this is noise, and noise doesn't create a bond. It creates dependence. Deep female desire is not born from the fear of losing, but from the pleasure of staying. And a woman stays where she feels calm,
She stays where she can breathe. She stays where her energy can flow unhindered. Peace is the most powerful form of seduction, because peace doesn't lie. It can't be faked. Either you have it or you don't. A woman senses whether your calm is genuine. She senses whether your voice comes from your chest or from nervousness. She senses whether your silence is presence or fear. She senses whether your slowness is dominance or indecision. She senses everything, always. The stable masculine doesn't have to make an impression. He doesn't have to be interesting. He doesn't have to maintain control, because his control is natural. He doesn't fake it, he is. It's that calm that makes him look you in the eye without trembling. It's that voice that doesn't try to convince. It's that slow, precise gesture that communicates more than 1,000 words. The stable masculine doesn't react, but responds with intention. His every movement is slow but decisive. His every glance has direction but no rush. His every silence has meaning. And a woman, faced with this, doesn't get bored. She surrenders, because there's nothing more seductive for a woman than hearing a man who is confident yet calm. A man who doesn't need to dominate her to feel strong. A man who isn't afraid of her intensity. A man who knows how to contain his energy without extinguishing it. The stable masculine isn't reactive. He's like a fire in the fireplace. It burns, but doesn't devour. It warms, but doesn't consume. And the calmer he remains, the closer the woman draws. Because calm, in seduction, is like gravity. It can't be seen, but everything falls into it. The modern woman doesn't want a perfect man. She wants a man who is constant, who doesn't lose himself when she changes moods, who doesn't seek approval when she distances herself, who doesn't implode when she tests him. She wants to feel that his chaos doesn't scare you, that his emotion doesn't overwhelm you, that his intensity doesn't destabilize you. Because when a woman feels contained, she no longer needs to defend herself, and when she no longer defends herself, she opens up, and that's where the deepest desire is born. Not the instinctive one, but the spiritual one. The desire to merge with a man who asks nothing of her but makes her feel everything. The stable masculine doesn't conquer a woman with force. He conquers her with tranquility, and that tranquility, in her body, becomes trust. It becomes sweetness. It becomes surrender. Many men try to make a woman feel small, but the stable man makes her feel free. Free to be fragile without shame. Free to be intense without fear. Free to be a woman, finally, without having to defend herself. This is the secret of true seduction, making her feel peace. Because peace is the highest form of pleasure. It's the pleasure of not having to pretend, of not having to compete, of not having to control. It's the pleasure of feeling safe. And the man who can make her feel this doesn't conquer her for one night. He conquers her forever. There are loves born from words, and then there are bonds that begin in silence, in shared breath, in glances that don't ask, don't explain, don't demand, in simply being. The modern world has turned love into a noisy language. Everyone talks about love, but few truly live it. Because true love doesn't need to be spoken. It needs to be felt. A woman can receive 1,000 words, but if she doesn't feel your presence, your words won't touch her. And a man can utter the right sentence, but if there's no peace behind that sentence, his voice doesn't vibrate in her body. True love isn't born from emotional intensity, but from a calm presence. It's when you no longer have to explain yourself, when you can remain silent beside her and the silence doesn't weigh. In fact, it nourishes. Silence isn't absence. It's full connection. It's proof that there's no longer any need to fill the void, that there's no longer any need to prove yourself, that there's no longer any need to play roles. When a man and a woman reach this point, fear no longer exists. There is no longer the anxiety of losing. There is no longer the need to be understood, because everything is already clear, even without words. The mature masculine is not afraid of silence. He inhabits it, because in silence he finds truth, and truth, even in love, has no need of noise. A man who loves maturely does not suffocate. He does not chase. He does not invade. He leaves space. He leaves breathing space. And in his breathing, the woman finds herself. Because the authentic masculine does not take energy, he offers it. He does not consume, but contains. He is the stable field within which the feminine can move freely, without fear of getting lost. When the calm of the man meets the depth of the woman, something is born that the modern world has forgotten. Silent union. It is not the one in the movies. It is not made of grand declarations, nor of infinite promises. It is made of small gestures, of true listening, of respect, of silences that do not weigh, but that unite. The connection beyond words is the rarest form of love, because it requires two people who no longer need to act, two people who don't use each other to fill a void, two people who look at each other not to search for something, but to recognize each other. Recognition means seeing the other for who they are, not for what you want them to be. And this can only happen in silence, when the mind stops searching and the heart begins to feel. Silence between a man and a woman can be a blade or a caress. It depends on what's underneath. If there's fear, silence becomes distance. If there's trust, silence becomes intimacy. The stable masculine transforms silence into a refuge. He doesn't fill it with words. He fills it with presence. And the woman, in that refuge, lowers her defenses, because she understands she no longer has to defend herself. She understands she can finally let go. When a woman senses that your silence isn't coldness, but peace, she doesn't run away. She stays, because her body recognizes that vibration as home. And it doesn't matter how chaotic the world is outside. It doesn't matter how much everything changes. When a woman finds a man who knows how to be in silence, she has found the calm she's always sought. There are men who speak of love, and there are men who embody it. The first talks about it, the second lives it. And he lives it in the simplest, yet most profound way, with presence. Presence is the love that doesn't need to be explained. It's the love that doesn't make promises, but creates peace. It's the love that doesn't create dependence, but freedom. A man who truly loves doesn't take away a woman's space. He gives her space to be herself fully, because he isn't afraid of her strength. He isn't afraid of her intensity. He isn't afraid of her silence. He knows that love isn't possession, but energetic harmony. Two frequencies that meet and vibrate in harmony, without the need for control. And the more the masculine remains firm, the more the feminine opens up. The more the masculine is silent, the more the feminine expresses itself. The more the man stops searching, the more the woman begins to feel found. Love isn't a dialogue, it's a rhythm. It's an invisible dance where the masculine leads and the feminine lets itself be led, not out of weakness, but out of trust. When trust is complete, silence becomes sacred. It's no longer distance, it's pure presence. It's the certainty that even without words, the other feels you. This type of connection doesn't need confirmation. It doesn't fear distance. It doesn't need constant attention, because it doesn't live in the noise of the mind, but in the breath of the soul. And when two people meet on this level, love stops being a need and becomes a constant presence. The mature man doesn't say, "I love you," 100 times. He proves it 100 times in silence, with calm, with consistency, with direction, with stability, with his ability to be there even when he doesn't speak. Because true love isn't in saying, but in staying. Staying when the other is difficult. Staying when pretending is no longer necessary. Staying when everything inside you wants to escape. Staying within yourself to be able to stay with the other. This is what distinguishes an ordinary man from a man of integrity. The man of integrity doesn't love to receive. He loves because it is love. He doesn't need the other to complete him, because inside himself he is already complete. And only those who are complete can truly share. Because they don't offer half, they offer wholeness. When the stable masculine and the open feminine meet, an ordinary relationship isn't born. A field of energy is born, a silence that speaks louder than 1,000 conversations, a bond that doesn't need noise to feel alive. It's mature love, the kind that doesn't depend on time, distance, or words. It's the love that endures even when everything else falls away. Because in the end, true love isn't an emotion. It's a presence. And when you learn to be presence, you no longer need to ask for love. You become love. And then silence, true silence, is no longer empty. It's fullness. It's balance. It's life. It's the most powerful voice a man can have. Because only those who know how to remain silent can truly make themselves heard.